Very far, about 5,500 miles, or 8,800 kilometers, to the east of Florida, on the banks of the river Nioman, there lies a small Belarusian town, that is called Nову Śvіeržаń. In olden days, the Belarusian word Śvіeržаń meant a solid section of a river bank, where ships could easily moor. The word Novi means new. This was where the Baltic water route began. It used to connect the Grand Duchy of Lithuania with Konigsberg and Prussia. The first written mention of Śvіeržań has to do with the family life of the Grand Duke Vitaut. Vitaut and Martin V. In July 1418, Vitaut's wife Hannah died. They say that he grieved for her bitterly, but not for long, and already in November, he married her niece named Juliana Ivanova from the Holshanskis. Vitaut was Juliana's uncle-in-law. Therefore, the Pope's permission was required to conclude the marriage. The Pope at that time was Martin V. He was elected at the Council of Constance in 1417. In 1415, at the same council, the national hero of Czechia named Jan Hus was tried and sentenced to death. It led to the long Hussite Wars, 1419 to 1434, between Jan Hus's supporters and the Catholics. The most famous Hussite military leader was Jan Žižka, who, together with Vitaut, fought in the Battle of Grunwald against the Teutons. Pope Martin V issued a bull urging Catholic Christians to crusade against the Hussites. Vitaut sent an army to help the Hussites, and they proclaimed him their king. All these events took place after Vitaut's marriage to Juliana. In 1428, the Grand Duke gave his wife several towns, including Śvieržań. In 1575, Śvieržań became the property of Mikołaj Krzysztof Radzivil, 1549 to 1616, nicknamed Sirotka. The Orphan. Sirotka, Mummies, and the Church. According to legend, King Johann II, August, once saw in his palace little Mikołaj alone, and exclaimed, "Oh, you are my poor orphan, forgotten by everyone." In fact, Mikołaj Krzysztof did have parents. His father was Mikołaj Radzivil, 1515 to 1565, nicknamed the Black, the Chancellor of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. His mother was Elżbieta Szydłowiecka, 1533 to 1562, a daughter of the Chancellor of the Kingdom of Poland. Mikołaj's life was bright and eventful, a good education in his homeland and in Europe. A political and military career, friendship with the most noble people of his time. In 1601, a book by Mikołaj Radzivil, Sirotka, was published. It was titled Peregrinatio, or Pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Written in Latin, this book was reprinted many times and was translated into the Polish, German, Russian, and Belarusian languages. In 1583, Mikołaj Radzivil went from Venice to Palestine, which then belonged to the Ottoman Empire. Sirotka visited the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem and thus fulfilled his vow, which he had given to God back in 1575. Then, the journey did not go according to the plan, as the land route through Constantinople was closed at that time due to robbers. It was possible to stay in Tripoli and wait for Venetian ships to go from there to Europe. But, on the 29th of July, 1583, Radzivil sailed to Egypt. He visited Cairo, Alexandria and, as a bona fide tourist, the Egyptians' pyramids. While sailing down the river Nile, the traveler saw a large number of storks on the banks. And hippopotami, which he called sea-horses. Radzivil was extremely impressed by the mummies. He even bought 2 mummies at the market and wanted to bring them to the town of Niovu Śvіeržaň. Then-a-days, the Turks prohibited the export of mummies to Europe. They feared that they could be used by Christians for witchcraft and to cast spells on Muslims. However, Radzivil treated the Turkish customs officers to wine, and they did not find anything illegal on the ship. At sea, the ship was caught in a storm, and the naval chaplain saw 2 ghosts. The mummies had to be thrown overboard. A year later, in July 1584, Mikołaj Radzivil, Sirotka, returned to his native Niovu Śvіeržań. His attitude to wayfaring can be seen in the epitaph, that he himself wrote, "In the face of death, no one is a knight, but only a traveler." Well, what about Növu Śvіeržań? In 1588, Radzivil, Sirotka, built the Peter and Paul Catholic Church here. The monument of Renaissance architecture has survived to this day almost in its original form. In 1603, Mikołaj Radzivil, Sirotka, ordered the painter and engraver Tomasz Makowski to make the first detailed map of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. On this map, there are the town of Śvіeržań and a small castle. Researchers believe that this castle was built during the times of Vitaut in order to guard the crossing over the river Nioman. Nowadays, only a small hill on the opposite bank of the river Nioman reminds us of the castle. In addition to Catholics, Orthodox Christians have always lived in Növu Śvіeržań. For them, Sirotka founded the wooden Orthodox Church in 1590. Its history is closely linked to another representative of the Radzivil family, Michał Kazimierz Radzivil, 1702–1762, nicknamed Rybańka. Rybańka and the Miraculous icon. Michał Kazimierz Radzivil was the Grand Hetman, the commander of the armed forces of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. They nicknamed him Rybańka, the Little Fish, because that was how he liked to address everyone, especially women. In 1743, with his funds, the stone Assumption Church was built in Növu Śvіeržań. A miraculous icon of the Mother of God was kept in this church. Legends say that this icon, painted on boards, with a golden background, appeared around 1500 in a grove, on the site, where the church now stands. In his diary, Rybańka described the case of his miraculous recovery from urolithiasis, thanks to his mental appeal to this icon. In 1961, people tried to transport the icon from the Assumption Church, which was closed by the Soviets, to the town of Stobci. It fell apart when they threw it into the back of a truck. Rybańka is also known for having restored Niovu Śvіeržań castle destroyed by the Swedes in 1706. He founded a porcelain, it means, a manufactory for the production of silk belts, in the town of Śląsk. And a faience manufactory in Növu Śvіeržań, which the locals called Farfurnia, it means, porcelain factory. In the 18th century, it became fashionable in aristocratic circles to use faience ware instead of silver. Faience products resembled porcelains, which were so expensive at the time that only a king or an emperor could afford them. Radzivil, Rybańka organized the production of faience in 1742, and it existed until his death in 1762. Local craftsmen worked there, and painting was done by a specially invited German artist. Only a few items have survived to this day, some of which can be seen in Niovu Śvіeržań castle. Faience is similar to porcelain in its composition and appearance, but the latter has some exceptional properties, such as durability, transparency, and the ability to produce a subtle melodic sound when struck. When mentioning porcelain, one cannot help but tell the story of the king of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Augustus II the Strong. Alchemist of Augustus the Strong. In the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, kings were elected by members of parliament, the General Sejm. Augustus the Strong, Elector of Saxony, was elected twice, in 1697, and, after a 3-year break, in 1709. Augustus was in constant need of money for his luxurious life and art collecting. That was why he kept several alchemists at his court, whose task was to find a way to transform base metals into gold. In 1700, Augustus the Strong invited Johann Friedrich Bottger, 1682–1719, to Dresden. He was known for his experiments on transformations of mercury into gold. Alas, a whole year had passed, but Bottger could not receive a single gram of gold. Augustus ordered to arrest and to place him in a laboratory cell, so that the temptations of the outside world would not distract the alchemist from his work. After 3 years of unsuccessful experiments, Bottger was transferred to Konigstein fortress. The commandant of which was Ehrenfried von Tschirnhaus, 1651–1708, a talented scientist who tried to solve the mystery of Chinese porcelain. In those times, porcelain was brought to Europe from China and it was extremely expensive. Once, Augustus even traded one of his dragoon regiments for several Chinese vases. The unsuccessful alchemist and his overseer began to search together for a way to produce porcelain. In 1705, Ehrenfried von Tschirnhaus and Johann Friedrich Bottger succeeded in obtaining red, or jasper, porcelain. It was opaque, but rang when tapped, and could withstand high temperatures. One day, Bottger noticed a snow-white powder for wigs, that was made of local white clay. This clay turned out to be the same kaolin, which white and thin Chinese porcelain is made of. On the 15th of January, 1708, Bottger wrote in his laboratory journal, that after 12 hours of firing, white translucent porcelain plates were obtained. It was a new ceramic material, that was superior in quality to the Chinese one. Thus, Augustus the Strong received porcelain instead of gold. In the Saxon city of Meissen, a porcelain factory was built, which still operates today. Johann Bottger managed this enterprise until the end of his life. Still, he never gained freedom. He was always kept under surveillance, because the authorities vigilantly guarded the secret of the white gold. In conclusion, let's return to Nову Śvіeržаń. The main square is adorned with the strict and majestic Catholic Church, which parishioners gather every Sunday for service. The Orthodox Church shines with golden domes, which recently replaced its original ones. If you turn off the main street, you can see the ruins of a brick synagogue. There is no one to restore it. There were no Jews left in the town after World War II. Nowadays, goods are transported not along the river Nioman, but by rail, which passed through the neighboring town of Stoke. That has become a large regional center. But it is quite a different story.